And welcome in to Ground on Sports, episode 43 right here as we are still a little bit shell-shocked as we are excited to be one day away from Tennessee's opportunity to play in the College World Series Final Series. So without further ado, you look to the right-hand side of this screen. That is not Mr. Ben Metz. He cannot grow a beard like that, nor is he a Cincinnati Reds fan. This is Skeeter, or as I call him, Josh, but he has many names. Those are the two that are radio proficient. So, buddy, how's it going, man? Appreciate you stepping in. Ben's at a baseball tournament this weekend.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, it sounds like you're gonna have a good time. At least while he's missing the show, and I have no problem filling in. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've done this. I've missed it. It's gonna be a good time. I'm ready.
Yeah. So for those who maybe new to the show, or really new to me, Josh and I had a radio show actually for a good long time back in Jefferson City. We will not name the station that it was on because I'm just going to tell you I don't really like that. So ultimately, we had to cut that loose, and then as we live a good distance apart, had to move this thing to a podcast and. Just have had a hard time getting this thing back on. So, yeah, Josh, super excited to have you back on. I will say Josh he's a man of many talents. He is a big-time NASCAR fan. A lot of times what I talk about on this show, I may or may not have heard it from Josh. He is also very good at the, let's just say the odds makers. He's good at the old – I don't know that I should say the name.
It's luck. It's luck.
That right. Is. He does pretty good work with it, unless he tells me which way to go, and then right. It's a bad idea. And it's bad. So, but we're gonna have a good time today. A lot to unfold, man. Tennessee. We were excited that they were in the College World Series. You know, it's the 7th appearance. You know, Tony Vitello, 3 in the last 4. He first year it was 2 and done. Last time it was win a game and then we were out. And then this year we were just hopeful to kind of push the envelope and see where we could go. Really, as we cut off last week's podcast, it was win the first game against Florida State. Ultimately, that ended up being probably the biggest win of the push, if you will, the one that had at least the most fireworks. But Tennessee goes 3-0 and punches their ticket to the College World Series Finals. Just a huge time for Tennessee baseball. Tennessee athletics playing for a championship. Haven't said that in a number of years, so excited for that to be in play. But, man, we're going to have a good time today.
Oh, man, I tell you, this Tennessee baseball team, they're exciting. You know, going over the past few years and seeing what Vitello's done, it's been truly amazing, the build-up that's come with this. But it's not been the most exciting team, you know, on paper from what they've had in the past. But, you know, what Burke hit, 20 the other night, become like the 10th player on the team.
So there's 5 players in the first time in college baseball history that a team has had 5 players with 20-plus home runs in the season. And here's the thing. There's 5 with 20. There's a lot of people with double. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me, obviously we rotate guys in at that DH spot. I think everybody that's an everyday starter has double-digit home runs. I mean, it's a pretty –
maybe that's what I was trying to think of, but it's a lot. And the dingers, they are soaring, and they're big. You know,
well, and, you know, a lot of times people talk about Lindsey Nelson and the friendly confines, the hitter-friendly confines of Lindsey Nelson. I think what Tennessee baseball, and we're going to unfold these games, so just stick here with us as we jump through those. But really and truthfully, we have absolutely played small ball. We've not let Omaha's ballpark, Charles Schwab Field, we've not let that become a long fly ball instead of a home run at Lindsey Nelson. We've began to understand what that means and how we need to manage that as we went through. So I guess, Josh, without you know, kind of holding up much further, one piece I do want to mention, and I think it's baseball related. We're always we are fans first. Really, we just we pay a monthly fee so we can record this stuff. You're not going to see me breaking news here, but we have a good time with it. But we are fans first. And so we lost Willie Mays this past week. That's a huge. Like the more I think about it, you're people are like, well, Willie Mays, good baseball player, the color barrier, all those things that he's associated with, right? But you really look at that. I mean, really, Josh, he's in that same line with Muhammad Ali. He's in that same line with Babe Ruth, with any of these all-timers. If you want to make a Mount Rushmore of baseball, regardless of the scenario, regardless of when they played, Willie Mays is going to be a guy that's there. And I would argue to this day, people still look at the way Willie Mays played the game, the way he approached the game, and mold some of their skills after that. I think that says a lot, considering he played about 70 years ago.
Yeah, it's been he was 93, so it's been a minute. I don't think we saw a game of him, but you always have the iconic catch, right? And that'll forever live in infamy as part of baseball. And it was a big loss for baseball. And you're right, the Mount Rushmore, he's definitely on it. Going up there.
He was one of the first. He was one of the first baseball players to ever have a tapered jersey, to have a specialized uniform, just the way he wanted it. I think that's kind of cool. I think it's super cool. There's a video out there. It's where Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, Big Papi, David Ortiz, and Reggie Jackson sits there at this. It's the oldest ballpark game they did just this past week. And they were talking to Reggie Jackson about Willie Mays, and they said, what was it like? Because Reggie's an old guy, and Reggie came after Willie Mays. And so they were talking about, a lot of you looked up to him. There was some texts talked about that were exchanged that just said, when he was coming up, he modeled a lot of what he did after Willie Mays and wanted to be a lot like Willie. And, I think he put into perspective not only, those guys, Reggie Jackson, Willie Mays, Jackie Robinson, names go on and on. They paved the way for a lot of people to play baseball. The Major League Baseball scene has a ton of guys from the Dominican Republic. I don't think that's an avenue had these guys not broken down some serious walls. So I think that was huge. It talked about how he elected, and I think you got to watch the video so you can hear how Reggie talked about it, about how he handled the race situation and the racism that they both were exposed to. I think it speaks to his character, that he understood his impact or what his proposed impact could be for future generations of men of color. And I think he kind of withdrew himself from that conversation to know that his play would break down more barriers than his voice could. So I think it's a huge loss. Ultimately, 93 years old. So it's not a situation to where I don't want to say you ever expect those type of things, but it wasn't one of those great health and then all of a sudden we've lost him. He was deteriorating in health. There was his last appearance. He looked pretty frail. But it's just you're never ready for that. And as my father-in-law said, this is a whole chapter, a whole generation that kind of closes. So again, we're fans first. So just wanted to close up with some, tribute a little bit to Willie Mays. So, but moving into college baseball, Tennessee Friday night, Florida State. I really enjoyed the build up to this game because of all the. If you're a Tennessee fan, you know where I'm going with this. 1998, all those mantras that we've built in that season, beating Florida State for a national championship. The second linkage that really made this important was Link Jarrett, where he was a couple years ago, and he ultimately knocked out arguably the best Tennessee team to ever shoot him up in 2022 in that super regional when he was the head coach at Notre Dame. So he had the upper hand on Tony that day. And so I thought it was going to be a heavyweight matchup to open up Omaha for the Vols against the Seminoles. And it didn't disappoint, Josh. It was a 12-11 Tennessee victory. And I think if you put it in that context, you'd be doing yourself a disservice. A game that inning for inning, probably one of the best baseball games I've ever seen.
Oh, I totally agree. And if you were
not defensively,
right, not defensively at all. But if you were a Tennessee fan, and I heard some people the rumblings. I cut it off at the ninth. It was no, I was done. You missed a lot, and that was incredible. Just the back and forth was, and my first thought was Link Jarrett. Oh no, that was me. But the hitting was there. Those gaps at that stadium are amazingly huge, and they fall in, and it's like a normal single is a triple. It's crazy. But that game indeed holds the value as one of the greatest Tennessee games to watch as far as an offensive game.
Maybe in all sports. I've been talking to a lot of guys. They're like, where would this rank all time in all sports? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's situations to where, a buzzer beater shot in basketball or the Arkansas game in Tennessee football history, the national championship game in Tennessee football history, Miracle at South Bend. If it ain't in the top 10 all sports, maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. I think it's where your heart is. If you're a baseball guy, it's instantly number one.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but you go back what you said earlier about the '98 season in football. Every game that season, there might have been two that weren't watchable, like they played somebody. But every one of those games, you had Arkansas with Sterner falling down and Syracuse with Donovan McNabb and getting a late field goal at the end. Every game in '98. That's why it feels like '98 all the time, because it's like you had to grind all season.
It can happen. It can happen. But Friday night against Florida State, the first matchup of the two that we were able to put together, I started Causey and Stamos. It was the standard Friday night matchup. Stamos comes in to start it. Causey's going to get the first option to come in. And really, off the jump, he didn't have his stuff. Walked the guy, was able to allow a guy to score. Hit by pitch, wild pitches. There was just a full gamut of just errors there. They go on the board first, 1-0. Tennessee singles the left, scores Christian Moore in the bottom of the first, which made it 1-1. And I'm like, okay, reset the button. Here we go. Tennessee goes up 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. And then here comes Florida State in the top of the third. They scored 2 to make it 3-4. Then they score again with a walk, and that scores for Ferrer. That made it 4-4. And then that third inning, they really exploded. By the end of the third inning, Florida State had a 7-4 advantage. By the end of the fourth inning, they had a 9-4 advantage. And I'll be honest with you, Josh, I was like, what have we done? What have we done? There was a few errors on the defensive side. There was an error by Burke. There was an error by Christian Moore. And it just really didn't seem like it was going to be our night. And, give kudos to that relief pitching, that bullpen. They came in and just started putting some zeros up and allowed us to get some, get our rhythm back a little bit for those middle innings.
Yeah, when Stamos went out just after felt like wasn't even a dozen pitches, it felt like it's going to be 8 pitches. Yeah, that's under a dozen, I suppose. I felt like it was going to be a long night, but the bullpen after that come in and they done pretty well, but they did get up to the 9 runs, and man, I thought it was going to be junk after that, but they kept hitting, kept swinging. It was a good night. Good night.
Sure enough. Bottom of the 5th, Kavarius Tears homers to right. Inslee scores, so a 2-run shot makes it 9-6 Florida State. That's all we could muster in the 5th. Bottom of the 6th, Christian Moore homers to center, made it 7-9. And I'm like, okay, we're within 2 runs. That's basically get somebody on, knock them home. And so I was feeling pretty good in the 6th until Dinges comes up, doubles to left center, and scores Jay West and Smith from second and third, making it 11-7. And I'll be honest, Josh, I was a little down on myself. I was like, man, I just don't know what we're going to do here. I don't know if we've got it. The way the lineup was coming around, it was about, I think in the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, we started on number 5. So I'm sitting here going, okay, we could very well, if we don't get some people on, we're going to have, we're not even going to get to the bottom of the lineup. And then in the 8th, we're going to turn it over, which doesn't give us a strong 9th. So I had all the ways how this was going to be a bad night, and we were going to have to go to the losers bracket to fight this thing out. But ultimately, Tony V and the boys said, not so fast, my friend. They put one on in the bottom of the 8th. Dylan Dreiling hit the single that ultimately scores Blake Burke, and then makes it 8-11. So not to be outdone, get out of the top of the 9th inning. No damage done. Get to the bottom of the 9th. Get 2 outs on us pretty quick. Quick. And then it just starts happening, Josh. I can't speak to it. Ultimately, there's a situation in here where Blake Burke check swings. You can say what you want to say. That's a 50-50 ball. If they would have said he went, I could have went with it. I would have been mad, but I could have done it.
Right.
But they ultimately said he did not. And so, orange-colored glasses, whatever you want to call it, the call on the field stands. And so it's not a reviewable play. So whether you would like it or not, there was a couple pitches there in the 4th inning that I could have said Kirby Cannell probably struck a guy out that would have saved a few runs. So I think we called it even from there. But in the bottom of the 9th, Dean Curley hits a sacrifice fly to right, which scores Kavarius Tears, making it 9-11. Kavarius Tears started that inning, by the way, with a monster triple, and I thought he was going to get thrown out at third. I mean, I had all these ways how this could screw up.
Right.
I was like, oh, no, this thing's getting off the rails, right? So he gets the third. Curley hits the sacrifice fly to score him 9-11. And I'm like, this is nice. This is good. Blake Burke gets up. Again, the infamous check swing. Florida State will be crying about it for a long time. But he gets a single out of that at-bat. Peebles and Christian Moore scores. It's a tie ball game. And at this point, Now I'm still pessimistic. I'll be honest. At this point, I'm still like, I just don't know. I just don't know if we're where we need to be to get this in the lineup. Dylan Dreiling for Friday night. Overall, for the first 3 games of the tournament, he's been pretty stellar. But for Friday night, he wasn't having his best night. And I'm sitting here going, we're playing extra baseball. I'm afraid we've ran out of gas. You know what I'm saying? Because again, Dylan Dreiling at that point was hitting 4th. That 5-6-7 is good, but for Friday night it hadn't been producing, so I was a little nervous. Dylan Dreiling singles to left center. That huge gap you were talking about scores Blake Burke, and 206 whistle stop here erupted. I think they thought the house was falling down because you would have thought we had the winning lottery numbers here at the house. So we were amazingly happy Friday night. And I think, relieved, happy, shocked, I don't know, all the things. And then we just tried to watch it over and over and over again. We listened to John Wilkerson's call. We did all the fan things. We did everything this side of get in the car and drive to Omaha.
Right. I was the same way here. I erupted it was more of a solo mission here, but, it was good to see. When they tied it up, it was a sense of relief. We're tied up. We're at least going to extras. But then you start thinking about, like, do you want to? Are we gassed out? What pitches do we have left?
Well, that was the thing. That's where Tony had a quick leash on Stamos, got Causey in there, but then he had a pretty quick leash on Causey and continued to roll pitchers out there. And so that was my concern going into potential extras was, what do we have left? What can we do? If we go to the losers bracket, ultimately we got to play an extra game there. Can we do it once we get to the losers bracket? And so I was pushing all the chips in for the entire Omaha trip. Let's get this thing done. And Dylan Dreiling made it happen. So it was a beautiful night. It was amazing. But just like anything, Josh, any kind of tournament play, you can't celebrate too long. They had one day off. They were off Saturday so that bracket 2 could play. And then they found out that they were going to have to play North Carolina in the second matchup as they were a walk-off winner in the early matchup there on day 1 as well. So going into game 2, I I don't know why, but I did not have the concern. I did not have the worry of if we could match up the same way that I did against Florida State. I thought North Carolina had won on a walk-off 3-2. We had just scored 12 runs. So I felt like that one was one that should have been really no issue for us. And of course, it on Sunday it proved to be the case. Drew Beam comes in and ultimately mows down North Carolina like we've wanted him to do all year. Went deep into the ball game, had great stuff early, and there was a mid portion in there where he got some traffic, had to work out of a jam, but he did just that. Only gave up the one run. Ultimately, Josh, I thought what they were able to do Sunday cooled them off. I mean, when I say that, your hair wasn't on fire. You were in control. You played Omaha the way you in a lot of ways, the way you do in Lindsey Nelson. I thought what it did for the psychological side for Tennessee to not only win but dominate North Carolina, beat them by 5 runs, 6-1 was the final. I thought that did a lot psychologically for this baseball team.
Yeah, Beam had a great game. I think he went, was it 7 1/3? It was one of his longest outings of the season. And, I think they swapped pitchers at a good time. You know, it was a good change for Vitello. You know, that game, it didn't have the feel that the Florida State game had. There wasn't, you know, the back and forth. And
that's no ill will toward North Carolina.
You know, right. But, yeah, I think the pitching was much better for Tennessee on Sunday. You know, they didn't struggle with the hitter. I don't think North Carolina has the dynamic hitters that Florida State had either. You know, that's one of the biggest issues, the difference between the two.
Sure. Well, and I think when you and that was something I was worried about going into game 2. The only thing maybe I was worried about was when you exhaust that amount of energy to walk one off. Because ultimately, you go out there, you're mobbing everybody. You know, they ripped Dryling's shirt clean off. So I was like, you know, are we exhausting energy that we're not going to be able to put back in the tank? Didn't seem to be the case. In the bottom of the 4th, really a tight matchup for the early portion. In the bottom of the 4th inning, Kavarius Tears homers to right. Blake Berg, Dylan Dreiling scores 3-0. Kind of got us off and running 4-0 with the Chapman homer to right, and then Honeycutt homer to left center. The only run that North Carolina put on the board in the 6th inning, and then Dean Curley scores Backus, and he ended up having to take the spot of Ethan Inslee because Ethan put himself and his body on the line to run into the center field wall to make a huge catch early in that baseball game. But, Josh, I almost forgot Friday night. I didn't forget, but I did not mention it. SEMO, Christian Moore, hit for the cycle. First only second college baseball player in history and the first one since 1956 to do so, and didn't even know it. Hit for single, double, triple, capped it with the big home run, the no-doubter center field, 440 feet home run that completed the cycle. Huge series so far for Christian Moore, but ultimately unstoppable that night. He was part of the rally that got us back in there, but didn't want to go all night without mentioning that. But go to North Carolina.
He had another double to it too, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, he just circled the wagon. He was building the second one.
He could have hit a second cycle, I think.
We didn't
who hit the other cycle in World Series history?
A guy in 1956.
There you go. Winner.
He didn't play for the Vols. I don't know him. But anyway, but against North Carolina, Ethan Inslee lays out, puts his body on the line, bounces off the infield wall, somehow holds on to it. It's a first inning play or maybe a second inning play. But to me, again, I'm a big emotion guy. I think the psychological side of sports is just as impactful as the physical. I think him making that play, putting it on the line like that, everybody else felt like they had to live up to that energy. and I thought it allowed us to set sail late in that game and just kind of put it on the back burner and finish it out. 6-1 the final, but obviously Ethan Inslee's kind of day to day right now. He DH'd against Florida State the second time. Wish him good health. But what does that mean when you've got a guy like that, an older upperclassman, that just puts that emotion out there? Do you think that had impact on the rest of the team? Just, hey, we can't let this guy down.
I think, yeah, it has to. Like, the emotion, you could see it on his face when he come down. I mean, he had adrenaline for another inning to get through it. He was hurt, and the emotion he had, it had to give the rest of the team something, especially some of the, underclassmen. But that was an incredible catch, man. That was. I mean, that it had to be like a car wreck the next day. He was sore. He definitely was sore.
It was just number 10 on the ESPN Top 10. I don't know.
9 soccer matches that day or something?
I think there was some hockey stuff going on. NBA Finals. Yeah, I know.
Maybe the Oilers.
Yeah, they still play those. But 6-1 the final. Vols 2-0. Really, at that point, catbird seat, as they were going to play in the bracket play final, and they were going to have to get beat twice by whoever made it to the next point, which at that rate was North Carolina and Florida State. They had to play kind of a play-in game there. Florida State bests North Carolina, and they get a rematch with the Vols. Going into that rematch, I'm not going to lie, Josh, I don't want anybody to think I'm a Negavol or I'm somebody that doesn't believe in Tennessee or whatever. But we've been here a lot. And I wasn't down on our guys. I wasn't not happy with what we had gotten done. No, I don't know that I believe that Florida State could beat us 2 times in a row, but I didn't want to see Link Jarrett again. I think he is a really good coach. I think he understood that he had a lot of tools that he could work with, even though he had to play that extra game. But in typical, when I'm worried about things seem to work out fashion, Tennessee plays Florida State again, playing Wednesday night. If they win, they punch their ticket to the College World Series finale. If they do not win, they have to play on Thursday for an opportunity to do the same thing again. So Florida State was going to have to win 2. Back was against the wall, and Josh, it was just like the North Carolina game. The switch had flipped. The chariot had turned to a pumpkin. Florida State was not the aggressor again. It was a different looking Florida State team. Now, I don't know. I think you give a lot of credit to Sechrist. I thought Xander Sechrist, he is a quirky dude. I'm pretty sure he would fit right in on this podcast.
He probably would. I mean, he takes a lot of line drives off the body,
Yeah, and if you're listening out there, we will find a hat that fits you, and we will get you right here on the podcast. No problem at all. But really no doubt about it on Wednesday, that first matchup. Florida State, like I said, did not come out with the same intensity. Tennessee throws a 3 spot up there to open the game, and ultimately that's all it took to win the game, because Florida State only was able to muster 2 late in the 7th inning, two back-to-back home run solo shots, and Tennessee beats Florida State to punch their first final series appearance since 1951. That must have been a heck of a year. Tennessee football wins a national championship. Tennessee baseball makes a championship appearance. I don't know that basketball had really got off the ground yet, but we had done some things for sure. But what did it mean? What did it mean to you to see Tennessee? Not only, because it's one thing to say they can't beat us twice. I think that was pretty well a common thought. But what did it mean for your psychological side of this team, or your understanding or belief, when they needed to get it done, they got it done on the biggest stage? What did that mean for you?
It means it's possible, right? Because, I mean, you go back, basketball, football, baseball, past few years. If you do this, you're going to the SEC championship. You do this, you're going to the national championship. Fail. Constant. It's just like, and it's not even critical games, like, what was it? football. We just need to beat South Carolina, and that was Spencer Rattler. You know,
Sure.
and then, but this was huge. I didn't get to watch this. I didn't get to watch the game Wednesday in entirety. Some prior engagements, work and stuff. But
The old work.
I caught the last inning, and I did get to see them win, and I love the emotion of when it ended. I was so happy for those guys. I know the work they put in, and just like I feel the same way you do. I'm a very emotional guy. Like when that comes, and it's seeing emotion in the people makes me enjoy them more.
Sure. Well, one thing I liked about the way they handled Wednesday night, and I don't know how this will move toward. I may have lost Josh. There he is. I don't know how this progresses toward the finale. I don't know how it works against Texas A&M or in favor of Texas A&M. But Josh, I didn't see them go over the moon that they had punched their ticket. There was a very job's not done approach to that victory, and I like that. I like that they understand there's more hills to climb. We're not at the mountaintop just yet. The difference in good and great is 2 more wins. 2 more wins that would put 60 on the yearly total. They're at 58 wins right now. 60's never been done. 58 hasn't ever been done for Tennessee baseball. There's other teams that, they play 20 exhibition games, and so they're the number of most in the country is way up there. So we won't even talk about that nonsense. But I don't know. I love where this team is right now. I love the intensity, the emotion. I love the way Tony's kind of managing the pitching staff. I think Crazy Frank is doing a lot of good things, trying to keep everybody in check. And then ultimately, it's just a team that's playing really well right now. I used to be super critical of Cal Stark. I used to be super critical of the bottom half of that lineup, thinking, do we need to inject some heat kind of on that bottom half just to kind of keep pitchers to where they don't have an easy portion of the lineup. And as we've gotten to Omaha, man, Kavarius Tears, I think he's probably made the most money outside of Christian Moore during the time in Omaha for 2 reasons. One, he's been able to hit it out a couple times at a big ballpark like that, and then 2, his gun from right field. I think he is Ronald Acuna-esque when it comes to arm strength, and I love what he's doing for this baseball team. And then really, I love watching the parents too, how emotional they're getting out in the stands.
Oh yeah, the parents and how emotional and you see when they hit the home run. I think some of the moms now have the fur coats, and that's pretty fun to see. I love
what
that.
I gather, theirs doesn't stink near as bad.
It can't, but I wouldn't mind having one. Not one of theirs, but just to have.
We can get you one.
But for the whole 3 games, I feel like the Inslee catch, that was a big one. I think as far as emotions and what it done, if he drops it, do we lose? I don't know, but I wouldn't want to know that one. It was too big of a moment and too much emotion. And another thing, I think it was the 8th inning of the Florida State game Wednesday. Kirby was pitching, and I think he took a shot off the glove and it turned into a double play. And I think that was a heck of. I mean, that was one of those where it was meant to be. It was just luck.
So I think in Florida State, just said, you know what, boys, it ain't our time. When I believe it may have been that Kirby deal where it kicks off his glove, Christian Moore flips it to second. Yeah. They try to throw it to Burke. They throw it away. It bounces off the dugout, comes directly back to Burke. He wheels and fires to second and gets the guy.
Yeah, crazy double play.
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that.
It's like a 6-4 backstop 3 double play or something. I don't know how that works off the net.
I don't live in those moments very much. But I'll be honest, I was sitting there, I was like, I don't do math. He went from first to second. Let's just call it that. That's what it is.
Right.
But anyway, but no, I think there was a lot of things. We didn't play perfect baseball Wednesday, but we played good enough to win. I thought the ball was bouncing toward the Vols Wednesday night, and so we got it done against Florida State. So ultimately, 3-0 heading into Saturday night's opener of the College World Series Finals against Texas A&M. Full allotment of pitching. Really, probably the only guy that can't go Saturday night is Sechrist. I think basically anybody else could go if needed. There's conversation, there's grumblings that Bean may be the rollout. I don't see Tony messing with his lineup. I don't see it changing. I see him sticking with what's got him here with an amazingly short leash on Stamos if he runs into trouble.
Yeah, because Stamos is basically what a one up, one down for 3 innings kind of guy. But I wouldn't think he would change it. Not this late in the game, but it is Vitello. Who knows? He goes with a different 8-hitter about every day. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to watch it. Whoever starts, I'm there for it. It's going to be amazing.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. I keep going back to it, and kind of to, I guess, break out a little bit of how Texas A&M got here. They were very dominant. Honestly, I don't think Texas A&M has lost a postseason game. I think they have been pretty dominant as they've come out of the SEC tournament. I think we beat them in Hoover's the last time they lost, and so to me, they've seen Tennessee. We saw them in the regular season. We saw them in Hoover. There's a little bit of backstory here with this. Tony Vitello coached at TCU with the head coach of Texas A&M currently. So there's a little storyline there. To me, I think they're a really good baseball team. I think they're aggressive. They have really good pitching. They have pitchers that can go deep in baseball games, and I think that's huge because ultimately, I think if they're at this level in baseball, their starting rotation's strong, and so ultimately, it's how quickly can you get to the bullpen. Because if you can knock out a starter early, then it's really anybody's game because nobody's got the depth that a starter does, right? And so, to me, they're very comparable. They had a good run. They ended up knocking out Florida to get here, which is, I mean, if you're beating Florida, I always tell people I root for two teams, the Vols and whoever's playing Florida. So when they knocked out Florida, could we have probably had a better matchup and been able to be more successful against Caglione in Florida? I don't know. I don't know. I thought they were a Cinderella, so I just didn't want to hear all the announcers talking about them. But I like our chances against A&M. I think A&M, I do not expect this to be a two-game series. I expect it to go to Monday night to settle this deal. If we finish it in 2, it'll be Tennessee winning a championship. It will not be A&M putting us to bed. That's just my opinion. But I expect it to go to Monday. I expect it to go 3 deep. And honestly, at this rate, it's who's best this weekend. I don't think you can say, oh, well, they've got more wins on the season or they've got more innings this season, more stolen bases this season. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You need to wipe those things clean, roll out new uniforms, and get fresh baseballs because this is all about the next 3 ball games.
Yeah, for both teams, like you said, I think this is Tennessee's. It's their second time in the finals. Texas A&M's first. So it's
your
big
second.
Is it?
So 2 years ago, they were the runner-up. They didn't get it done against who was it? I think it was either Vandy that couple years ago. I can't remember. It was an SEC team. They just didn't get it done.
I was thinking it was their first, but maybe 2. So 2 for both, but neither one of them won it, right? Neither one of them won it.
Right. So, and that's another thing. I think Tennessee 3 out of the last 4 years have been to Omaha. This is ultimately, there's very few teams like a Texas, like a Florida State, like a bunch of these teams that have just a mantle full of College World Series appearances, right?
Right.
Florida State has been now 24 times, never won it.
Yeah.
And so, if you're at one of those schools, you can mute me out for the next few minutes. teams that aren't that level of prestige in baseball, the opportunities to get back to Omaha, you can't put that on auto draft because that payment's not going to come every single year. You know what I mean? And so, to me, I think both teams have motivation to play really well right now. I think Texas A&M is riding a high that they've had a lot of success in the postseason outside of the SEC tournament, and I think Tennessee has been able to weather the storm, has kind of made Omaha Lindsey Nelson West, and has really brought the fan base and done a lot of things to keep the momentum on the Big Orange side. So I think it's going to be a great series. I think ultimately Tennessee just needs to steady Eddie, easy, keep up what you're doing. Really good outfield defense, shore up the infield defense, try to limit the errors, and just do everything you can to be a nuisance to every pitcher that faces you in the bottom of the lineup.
See, I feel like, going back to, would it be Florida? Would it be Texas A&M? I was really kind of happy it was A&M and not Florida. Florida had the potential to score a lot of runs fast. Texas A&M, they do have the good pitching. They got a couple good starters that can go deep into the game and with success. And, with that, if Tennessee can score some runs, I expect it to be over Sunday.
So if this was Maryville football, we'd call it Hippie's Keys to Victory, but we'll call this Skeeter's Keys to Success. What would you say are 3 things the Vols have to do to walk out here with a championship?
Runs, and more runs. They're going to have to. The pitching can't be mediocre. And the bullpen can't allow a ton of runs. I'm not sure on Texas A&M if they can put up 5, 6, 8 in an inning. Tennessee can, no problem. But the pitching is what I worry about. So getting hits at big times, scoring some runs, I think that's going to be key for Tennessee. But the pitching for Tennessee has got to be on. If Stamos starts, he don't need to go 8 pitches. He's going to have to go get more than that. Hopefully, at least get a guy out before they go over. But and then I'm trying to think of that one guy's name.
Who are we talking about?
Burke. I feel like he needs
boy Burke.
I feel like he needs to, if he hits a 500-foot home run, series over.
Ben calls him the California redneck. I think that's a pretty good fit for it. Yeah. It's funny. I don't know where my keys are. Honestly, I think you got to play good defense. I think they're going to hit they're going to get runs in. Now they manufacture them in a lot of different ways. They're going to get runs in. But what you can't, and what Tennessee struggled, and I think any team would struggle with this, is allowing three-run jacks, grand slams. Try to limit the traffic. That way, if you let one, kind of go across the plate and they get a hold of it, it's a one-run ad, right? That was the deal with Florida State's second matchup. It was 7-2 final, and that was 2 jacks. I mean, it was back-to-back jacks. But the difference was in the first matchup, there would have been 2 on.
Right.
So I think those dynamics change games is when you're moving the needle in multiples. And so to me, it's limit the traffic on the base pads, play really good defense, and then I'm with you. I think if Tennessee, and I know this is a high number for baseball, pitchers don't like these numbers, but I think Tennessee, the what they're averaging in Omaha, so they scored 12, 7, or 12, 6, and 7. So I think if they can average, if they can keep the same average, right? So they're probably averaging somewhere 8.5 runs, 9 runs a game. I don't know that Texas A&M can keep up with that heat. So if we can run their starting pitching, make them chew up some pitchers there, especially on Saturday night would be when I'd want to do it. just to really mess with the back end of that series. I think that's really good, but I'm with you. Good defense, limit the base running. Don't let a lot of traffic build up for them to move the needle in bunches, and then just score. Just score, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think the emotions of the Florida State game, on the Friday, that should prepare them for what the 2 days, possibly 3, lies ahead. So, I don't think they'll be in their own heads. I think they'll have that clear, and hopefully, I just hope the pitching's good. I think that's the biggest key for me is the pitching needs to be good, not allowing silly runs, crazy errors. Just no mistake baseball, really.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at kind of the way the Texas A&M path to where we're at today. So they beat Florida 3-2 to open their time in Omaha, and then they played again on Monday, 5-1 against Kentucky, put them in the losers bracket, and then again on Wednesday was able to close it out against Florida 6-0. So 3, 5, and 6 are their run totals for their 3 wins in Omaha. Tennessee 12, 6, and 7. And so to me, if we just stay on the same trajectory, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 for the Aggies. But I will say, resetting the pendulum, getting your starting pitching from the early games back for Texas A&M, I think that's going to make a difference. On the flip side of the coin, their defense, they've allowed 0, 1, and 2 runs. So I think Tennessee, if we can get +5, if we can get 5 or more runs on the board, I think Texas A&M may flinch a little bit. I think they may not know what to deal with when they get runs on the board against them.
Well, by what you said on the run scored, if Tennessee gets a 7, it's a lock, right? 6 was their highest.
Yeah. I mean, if we go by averages, and
again,
I haven't watched a ton of their games. I did watch the Florida A&M game on Wednesday just because, I can't say this enough. I can't drive it home enough. I just really don't like the University of Florida. Don't like them in anything. I didn't even like Tim Tebow, and I feel like he may be a saint. He may be a perfect person. But I don't like anything about Florida. I thought they had a little bit of a Cinderella feel, at least the way the media was treating them. And so I didn't want any part of them. I didn't want Caglione. I didn't want, have to deal with him, even though we beat him earlier in the season in a 3-game series there. I just didn't want anything to do with Florida. So here's the thing. People talk about, well, you think we can match up with Texas A&M. Yeah, at this point in the game, I think it's 1 versus 1. The number 1 out of the bracket 1, the number 1 out of bracket 2. And so to me, we've earned the right to match up with them for a best-of-3 series. If we don't win, and I don't want to put that out in the universe, but if we don't win, we just didn't play good enough to win. Texas A&M's having a great season, and hats off to them. But I like the mindset of this Tennessee baseball team. Job's not done. They're not interested in having another participation trophy from Omaha. They're wanting to strap one in an extra plane ticket and carry back some hardware to Knoxville.
Yeah, I feel like the team that's put together this year, like we talked about earlier, coming into the season, this wasn't the team that was built for this, but they've turned out to be, and
sure.
They've earned the right to be here. They've 58 wins. That's a heck of an accomplishment. So you can't make mistakes. And with Texas A&M, you go back to what you said on Florida and everybody scored. They ain't allowing runs. That's the big thing. The defense is good. The pitching's good. So 7 p.m. tomorrow. I guess we'll start finding out.
7:30. So we will finish up today's show. Always rip out the Magic 8 Ball. We usually ask 3 questions per person. So I will start just so you kind of see the kind of questions. Obviously, it has to be relative to Tennessee baseball and today's topics. So don't ask winning lottery numbers or anything like that. So my first question is a big one because ultimately if it goes 3, we'll see the full allotment of starters, right? But ultimately, Drew Beam will play in this series. My opinion, he will see time. And so my question is, will Drew Beam go more than 5 innings in his outing here in the College World Series final? What did they do to this? Okay, this says my reply is no. So they're saying less than 5 innings on Drew Beam during his outing. Honestly, we've got some pretty good bullpen arms, so that doesn't bother me at all. What's your question, Josh?
All right, so I'm going to stick with the pitching. If Chris Stamos starts tomorrow, does he throw more than 8 pitches?
More than 8 pitches. You may rely on it, it says. So that says yes.
That's good enough. Throw $10 on right there.
I hear you. If more than 8 pitches is a line, tell me. Yeah, I'll take it too. I'm going to move over. I'm going to say Simo. So I don't know that he hits. I'm going to say, does he hit for the cycle in the series? Not necessarily in the same game, but across the series, does he go single, double, triple, home run? Most likely, it says.
Wow. So I had a similar question. I was thinking the whole cycle thing. I was going to say, does anybody hit for the cycle? And I would love to see the natural cycle.
In a game.
In a game.
Okay, make it the 3rd person in college baseball history. Oh, it's upside down. That's why I couldn't read it. It says, better not tell you now. All right, ask another question. Sounds like 8-Ball didn't feel good about that one.
Sounds like 8-Ball didn't feel my gambling needs tonight. Let's see. All right. Will any pitcher have 10 strikeouts?
Okay. 10 strikeouts. That's high. That's high rent.
That's high.
Without a doubt, it says. Is that for Tennessee or just period?
Beam. I hope it's Well, he can't be. He can only face 9 batters and he's done. You know?
All right, Josh, I got to rip the Band-Aid off. You know this question, don't you?
I have a feeling.
Is Tennessee going to win the national championship? It says reply hazy. Try again. Hold on. That means I get another shake, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Reply hazy. Try again. So same question. Is Tennessee going to win the Natty? Signs point to yes.
Whoa.
Boom.
So
Boom.
with that question,
are they going to get?
And they win the Natty. And they win when they win the Natty by Magic 8-Ball. Will Vitello be the highest paid coach in baseball?
It is certain. It says. Hey, good enough for me. Somebody got to tell me when to quit. So I'm gonna say it's a good spot to stop on. Tennessee winning a Natty. Beam throwing 10 strikeouts. Tony Vitello becoming the highest paid coach. I think the only thing that was bad was he's going to have to do it in less than 5 innings because Magic 8-Ball said he wasn't going to make it to 5.
Well, I mean,
it could happen. You can get it done in 4.
So if you strike them out and the catcher drops it, it's still a strikeout technically. But if the guy reaches first,
I don't think that's the way DraftKings see it. Oh, I've never been so mad as when you take that hit line and it's a 0.5 and it's late in the game and somebody gets there on either a fielder's choice or a error. They make it on an error throw, like a wide throw. Not a hit on those services, so not my favorite.
Not a hit.
But
not a hit.
But Skeeter, Josh, however you want to be called tonight, appreciate you jumping on, man. Tennessee baseball is going to play for a championship this weekend. Totally excited. Of course, if you're on social media, you already know this, but Tennessee's having a watch party down at Vol Village. They're going to have like a big get up. They're going to do the food trucks. They're going to do the big screens. I'm sure it's going to be wild because Omaha's a long way away. So there's a lot of people that's going to want to do this. Not sure the Kaisers are going to make an appearance just because heat. Two, I have two boys that pretty much beyond 45 minutes of anything, and they're pretty checked out. And I'll be honest with you, I want to be close to the screen. I want to hear things. I'm going to watch different things. And in that madness, I don't know that that's a place for me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have my own personal watch party here with the drinks flowing and Kool-Aid and stuff.
Sure,
the kids.
Yeah, for the kids.
For the kids. But no, the watch party will be insane, man. I just want to see a video of it, to be honest.
I really wish now you want to a way you'd have got me over there, Danny White, if you're listening, watching, or if this gets shared with him, if you'd have opened Thompson Bowling Arena and played it on the Jumbotron. Like, that would have been awesome. Like, to me, that you get 25K. There ain't going to be 25,000 people at the watch party, I wouldn't think. And if you do, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be. I don't want to take it away from them. There could be 30,000 people there. I mean,
I feel like it'll be a rodeo. It'll be a rodeo down there.
Maybe. You think they'd have a mechanical bull if you get enough people?
I think it's a good concept, but we should probably go rent one and take it down there and charge $1.
Rent one. Yeah. Have it. I never ride a mechanical bull that's still hooked to the truck. That should be a rule.
It would still be on the truck if you have to.
Well, yeah, because sure as the popo pulls up, we gotta leave. We gotta get out of there. But anyway, so if you go to the watch party, you listen to this, and you see a mechanical bull, it's not us. It's really not us. Not gonna do that. But Josh, appreciate it, man, for jumping on. Again, been at the baseball tournament, and Skeeter said, I'm in. He makes an appearance. So appreciate it, man. Always fun talking with you, and we'll try to keep the gap between this time and next time a lot smaller than the last one.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I had a good time, and Ben, hope you're having fun at your tournament. Hope everything's good. But go Vols, and hopefully Sunday. What time's the game Sunday?
1.
Okay.
Who came up with that?
That's a weird time, but
it is 1 Central, so it's 2 here.
Well, that's a little better, But hopefully around 2, maybe around 5 o'clock, we'll know something.
Well, I think we'll know. We'll know if it's going to have a Monday game or not, but for sure. Well, we'll know that tomorrow night. But anyway, Josh, going to jump off here. Hit it right at the hour mark. That's kind of our goal. Talked a lot about Tennessee baseball, a lot about the way they've gotten to the championship series, and then some keys and some key pieces to how we feel like they can get it done against the Texas A&M Aggies. But let's jump off here. If you like what you've seen, of course, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, share it with some of your friends. If you don't like it and you've stayed this long, well, you're really tough, and I appreciate you watching this one. Better luck next time. But if you like it, give us that share, that like, that subscribe, and we'll do it again next week. Hopefully, we're talking about a championship, Josh. But again, thanks for jumping on. And until next time, take care, be safe, go Vols, and grind on. We'll see you next week.
All right, there we go.